Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to another edition of The Flow. I am your host, Doc Rock, along with my awesome co-host.
Hey everyone, it's Katie.
I don't know. It cracks me up every time.
Every time we have to laugh.
Gang, we are going to do something cool today. We're going to talk to our friend. We're talking about podcast project management, along with Evie. So we're going to ask Evie. Hi, Evie.
We're going to ask Evie. And if you don't know Evie is like our go-to when we're like, oh, things are really disorganized or not working the way that they're supposed to. And Evie was so patient in getting us all set up with our amazing ClickUp account, which now like Caleb and I and Paul and sometimes Doc just live and die in. So thank you, Evie.
It was so much fun. I'm like, oh yeah, we did that back in the day. And then I get your email to send over my information for the webinar coming up, for the summit coming up. And I'm like,
that's a
ClickUp form link. Yes! Yes!
Evie rubbed off on us in all of the best possible ways. So yeah,
Efficiency for the win. Efficiency for the win. I love
it. The funniest thing to me, Evie, is every once in a while I'll be traveling.
Doc will come back, I'm sure, at some point.
The interwebs is like, yeah, we are not doing.
We told you it was going to be a bumpy day, everyone. So it's going to be a bumpy day.
I can hear you guys completely fine. You can't hear me?
Oh, try again. You disappeared for a minute.
Now you're back.
All right, anyway, so I find it hilarious that every once in a while I'm either traveling or watching a show and there'll be like a train in the background and there's a ClickUp thing. And I don't think about ClickUp, like because they do buses and trains a lot and all over the world. And I don't even think about ClickUp. I think about Evie. Every time I see it, I go, hey, Evie. And it just when I see the logo, I go, hey, Evie. So that's kind of a big deal. Just want to let you know.
Yeah. Actually, and before we jump in, we should just give a second to say that Evie is now a published author. So where can we find your book, Evie? It's called, so for those of you listening, it's called The Basics of Mastering ClickUp. So if you're like, wait a sec, I need some help. A, you're in the right place. And B,
what everybody listening is missing. I'm kind of like hiding behind my book right now. Yeah, so The Basics of Mastering ClickUp, pretty much if you head over to Amazon and you just pop in ClickUp, you're gonna find it. It's right there. You got the Kindle version, you got the printed version. Whoop, whoop, 2 years in the making. Oh my God, this was a journey getting here. But yeah, we finally hit the publish button on December 12/12.
Yeah. That's super exciting. Congratulations. Well, we're here today to talk about project management as it relates to podcasting. And I think most of it comes through in the guest management and guests and maybe episode planning as well. But how do you approach getting started with thinking about project managing your podcast? And everyone should be thinking about this. Even if you're like a solo podcaster and you have no team helping you at all, you should still have a project plan. So what are the first steps, Evie?
What I always tell everybody pretty much with any process, so just as applicable for your podcast, is just take a pen and paper. Don't overthink it. We're going to get some nerdy today. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of things we can do. Start with pen and paper. How often do we do these things of, oh my God, did I do this? Didn't I do this? Do we have this? Is this done? The easiest way to really get started is write down the steps you need to take to get this thing done and get it out of your head. Yeah. So from there, yes, it's physical. You can't share it. It's still there. You can't easily just set it on automated recurring and all those fanciness. But it really starts with having that physical checklist of these are all the things you need to get done to get this podcast out.
Mm-hmm. And we have, so if you've been ride or die with us from the start here at The Flow, we do have our own fancy dancy, fancy pantsy checklist. You can actually walk through and check off all of those kind of getting started with your podcast checklist. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Having it just like in front of you in some way, whether that's a whiteboard or a notebook or however you rock, that's the way to get it kind of initially out. But there is like a pretty set checklist for getting started with podcasting. So that part's probably the easy part. Other than guest management, is there anything else that comes across where you need something that's a little bit more systematized?
And it matters. So my guest management that we are running within ClickUp actually has multiple applications. So
Awesome. I love it.
with guest management, how often do we have the issue? Oh my God, we don't have the headshot. Oh my God, we don't have the bio. Oh my God, we don't have that. So that's where we implemented, just like you guys are doing for the webinar for the summit, collecting all of this information in a form. Now, I also ask specific questions in this form. For example, do you have a podcast yourself? Now, suddenly, oh, they have a podcast. They might actually have me on. So now it's not just guest management. It's a possibility for me to guest on their podcasts. And then secondary, I also have a question in there that says, do you have somebody else that should be on? And we can share on the video my screen where it's really laid out, where it's, again, not just guest management to make sure we have all the information we need to really customize our logos and our thumbnails and all the things and know who we're actually talking to and have all of that ready. It gives us a possibility to go past that, to have potential future guest recommendations, but also get ourselves on a podcast.
Yeah, which I think is really huge because at most people who are in the podcasting space, if you're not already thinking about this, you absolutely should be thinking about where else can you put yourself so that your podcast, amplifies its reach as well. And, and having these kind of mutual relationships, I think we called them back in the day pod swaps. But the idea of I'll be on your show, you be on my show is just a really nice, easy way, especially if you have friends who have shows. It makes it kind of an easy place to start for getting your show more out there and getting more guests onto your show if that's the goal that you have. So yeah, I think that's really smart.
That's where tools like Podmatch comes in. It's kind of like Tinder for podcasters. There's several of them out there, but you should definitely look into that. And I think it's super important that, especially if you're trying to grow your podcast, that you start by being a good guest. And the underlying thing about being a good guest is that while you are traveling the internet, going to all these different shows to become a guest upon, you learn workflow techniques from other shows that you should implement and you didn't know you should implement.
Yeah.
Right. So I first found out, this is crazy. I've been podcasting for years, but the first sort of be a guest on my show experience that I saw that was really epic was actually Evie. This is circa 2000. I was a guest on Evie's show and she says, okay, I'm going to send you an email and then you just fill this thing out and you come back. Now, I have sent bios and headshots all around the planet at this point. Evie came with a dossier. And I was like, hold up, girl, what the heck is this? And you do all these things and you press it and it came. And she was the first person that I was on the show that gave you back all of this swap stuff. Swipe. Sorry, I'm mixing my German words. So then it had all the swipe content. It's like, hey, I'm fitting to be on Ask Evie. And I was like, hold up, what in the hell? And so I remember I asked her back there, well, how the heck did you do this? She goes, oh, ClickUp. And I was like, click what? And then she goes, oh, yeah, it's this thing, blah, 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 blah. And that was the beginning. That was way back in 2000.
So what Doc is talking about is the complete flow. And if you are watching on YouTube, we can share screen for you to see what exactly I'm talking about visually too. What happens is when a guest submits this form, first of all, they're getting the confirmation saying, hey, we got everything. If you were chosen to be guest, we're going to get back to you. Then based on a drop-down field, so my podcast goes through different stages where initially it doesn't have a stage at all. Then it has a stage where it's like, schedule your recording. When I hit that button, that drop-down field, and I set it to schedule your recording, I have an automation running within ClickUp that automatically sends out an email and says, knock, knock, hey, Doc, you were chosen. We would love to have you on the podcast. And they are getting an email with the scheduling link because I don't manually schedule. I have specific recording days, and it's run through a scheduler. So with that, they get the scheduling link and it pops in there. Cool. I have another automation that then brings in that task so I can just get my dates right. It becomes a subtask. We're getting too nerdy with that one. It just makes the workflow a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. By the time I have recorded with them, literally, we are done recording. I set that podcast stage to recording done, and they get an email again, automatically, customized, with their name and all the things. Again, through ClickUp that says, hey, thank you so much. Had so much fun recording with you. Would you mind leaving a review for my podcast? And if you have somebody else you think would be great on the show, here is the link. With that, also the whole task management happens. Hey, we need to grab the raw files. Hey, we need to edit all the things that are happening behind the scenes. All those subtasks get automatically attached to that episode in my ClickUp. It's all happening automatically. All the people are already assigned. All the due dates are getting set. And by the time my team is done doing all their things and they say podcast scheduled, another email goes out, and that's where the magic happens that Doc just talked about too. We use ClickUp for data storage too, meaning there is a lot of fields in that task that has the YouTube video link, that has the blog link, that has the transcription link, that has the Google folder link where all of the assets are in with the thumbnail and with the story graphic and all the stuff. And all of those links can be mapped into that email. So when that email goes out to my guest, they have access to everything. And I'm like, you want to use the full video recording and create your own short form content? Knock yourself out. I have all of my social media links in there so that when they share stuff, they can easily tag me and know exactly which account to tag. And I don't have to do anything. I never write an email. I wrote it once. And every single time we go through our workflow, it's like, ding, guest just got notified. Ding, guest just got notified. Here's all the access. Here's all the things. I don't even create Google Drive folders anymore for our episodes. All of it is automated.
It is incredible. And I think what's really cool about this particular system is that, you know, we've done episodes before on automation, and automations in general can come across as feeling really kind of big or techie or complicated, but this is a really like direct, easy one to start off with. And I know Doc is laughing because he hates when we use these words, but like if you are the person,
I just want to push back really quickly. Listen, this one is a pet peeve of mine. There is nothing with your microwave is techie.
I know, but hang on with me, Doc.
Everything is techie. So if you keep saying that, you're blocking. You got to stop saying that. Everybody got to stop saying that. Your car is techie. Your car will not let you slide. When you slam the brakes, your car will go dunk, 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 and stop the car. So even your brakes, unless you're driving a 56 Thunderbird, your car has a computer in its brakes. Stop saying that because you're really blocking yourself. Sorry,
okay, well, what I am trying to say is this is a great getting started automation. So if automations have been on your list for a while and you've been putting it off for whatever reason that Doc is judging you for, you need to start with this one because it's really easy and logical to think through. Because if you've even if you've never had a guest on your podcast, but it's something you want to do, there's a pretty simple, easy process that you can write down, and then automating it, whether you're using ClickUp or literally any other tool, is then really easy because you're just checking off the steps and figuring out how to connect the dots, right? So it's, I need to find a guest. Okay, what steps do you normally take to find the guest? I need to email the guest and let them know what time my show is. Okay, what time is the show on? Those things are very simple to step through and then really simple to be able to set up. I'm joking, Doc. I know you're coaching and not judging.
If you have a 10-year-old or higher that you make take out the trash after dinner, you just automated taking out trash. It is no different than doing that. You know, and the thing is, here's the hardest part about the word automation. The word automation makes you think that it must be difficult. Most of us aren't like taking 2 rocks and smashing our coffee beans and then building a fire to then boil the water that we've collected from a well or a river or a stream. Now we pull water out of a faucet, we put it in a pot, we heat it up, and then we grind our beans. Anybody still drinking pre-ground coffee? We're not talking. Most of us have machines that assist in that process. So even your coffee is automated. Like, people get freaked out by the word, and I understand what you're saying, because this is what throws people off. And I think that's Evie's hardest struggle, teaching what she teaches, is trying to teach people that automation itself is not scary, and you do automated things. You get email, and some of your email automatically gets flagged as spam. So even though you didn't set it up, you have tons of automation in your everyday life. You just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And we run on automation. Our habits is nothing else than an automation. You don't think about anymore how to brush your teeth. You don't think about putting on the seatbelt when you go in the car. How often, if we drive the same route, how often it's like you're just an autopilot and you're just going? Our habits are automations, and have fun with them. Don't get me wrong. There's enough automations out there that are a pain in the rear end. Just go on LinkedIn. Just go on LinkedIn and check your messages.
Listen.
So
heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, arousal, all of these things are your body automates, bro. Like, every time when you're a 13-year-old kid in class and you got to go to the board and you don't want to because the teacher, you don't want to get up behind your desk. That wasn't you, son. That was automation.
And it's gosh. What I tell my community and my clients is, when you are doing one thing 2 or 3 times, it's time to automate it. It's time to template it. If that is the email you send out, and again, it's like, I'm having fun with emails. I'm using emojis in there. When my, hey, schedule your recording goes out, I literally have the microphone in there and I'm like, tap, tap, anyone there? I say in my support tickets, to come off of the podcast for a second, in my support tickets, when they get a reply, it literally says on the bottom, hey, it's Eva, my automated bot within ClickUp that replied. Evie is going to get back to you. Have fun with it. Everybody knows that we are using automation, that we are using technology to make our life easier, to be able to be a host and show up and not have to worry about all the admin stuff. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that, like, if you've been putting something like this off, speaking as someone that has both set these up as well as lived in a world where they didn't exist, even if you're like me and you are super type A, OCD, love to be in your email 24/7, you are going to forget something. You are going to send the wrong thing. You think that your email process is awesome, but you forgot to test it on blah, blah, blah thing. And so something is going to go wrong, and having it set up as an automation like this is just going to give you a better chance of avoiding any of those issues, and will give you the opportunity, once it becomes almost a habit or a routine and it's going out on a regular basis, to then tweak it and update it and make it better as you start getting feedback from people, which you could also set up as a feedback automation or a feedback loop. Like, how was this, how was the show? Is it great? I set up an automation for the Meet the Ecamm Fam live series that I do. And I don't actually do that show all that often. I set up this automation a while ago, and I guess I had, like a post email that automatically went out that was like, thanks so much for being on the show. It was great to have you on. If you want access to this file or anything else, here's how you get that. And here are some other different options. And I get an answer to that email all the time. Like, I forget that email exists, and then someone will email me back and say like, hey, Katie, thanks so much. It was great being on the show. I do actually want those files, or or I'd love to, introduce you to this person. So that email is out there working for me without me even remembering it existed.
We have this
it's
so
worth
often.
it.
I literally woke up to an email this morning. The team was busy scheduling podcasts. I literally got an email this morning where it's like, Oh my God, thank you so much for all of it. I'm going to forward that to my marketing department. And now I have my guest promoting the episode. It's the best way of getting out there. And how often do we forget to ask for a testimonial, for a review, or those kind of things, because we are so in production. And it doesn't matter if it's our podcast or if you are actually a live producer. How often is it that we don't ask for our testimonials from our clients, that we don't ask for the podcast review, that we forget to set out the files? You already have it all in here. So it's just a no-brainer. But again, everybody that has not automated this much yet, take a deep breath. We didn't start here. We did not start here. I started with this process literally with 5 subtasks of this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and this needs to be done. So that I don't waste my brain power on, do I have to do this? Didn't I do this? Did I do this right? What needs to be done? Because even if you are a solo producer and you are the only one in your podcast and you don't even bring guests on, you still are using a lot of brain power running that process. And no matter how habitual you are running this process already, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And you're going to have days where your brain is functioning like the interwebs today. And it's like, nah.
That's my brain today. There it is.
So with that, it is so much easier to just have it there.
Yeah.
And not only that is I have the template ready. I don't have to go over and over and write out the steps. I have it there. I say, next episode, apply the template. Here's the tasks I need to do. And moving forward, I can polish those. Again, we started off with 5 subtasks per episode. Right now, don't get a heart attack out there. We have 23 because we also have checklists in there where it's like, I need this image, and this image. I need this description. Make sure you are adding the link here. So we built this out more to have the resource if, God forbid, something happens and a team member can't take care of it. What did COVID tell us? We need to make sure that we are ready for anything because we never know what's going to happen. So I am set up in a way right now with the templates we are running, with the automations we are running, where I easily can pop in and say, okay, this is usually Kitty's job taking care of those tasks and those assets, but for whatever reason she can't do it. I'm literally just changing assignee and somebody else can take over. And without even skipping a heartbeat, I am still producing.
Yeah, no, I think something like that is also huge. And it goes back to, I love that you encourage everyone to just start by writing it down. So like think through, and again, we have free resources in the description of this episode and every episode where you could, if you like, I don't even know what the initial things are, we have the list of initial things, but sit down and think through like what those tasks are, because that's the best place to start with building any kind of automation, with building any kind of system, and with, I mean, project management in general is like, what are the things that need to get done in what order? And you can start somewhere and then move them around if you need to. We erase them and put them up and, draw it out or sketch it out in some way. Who does each of these tasks? And then get them, if you are at all able to, get them into some sort of system that will help you build out an automation, right? So that in this case, Evie is a ClickUp wizard. There's lots of tools out there. You need to find the one that works best for you. It took us a bit. Like I will say for the Ecamm team, I couldn't, like, I am a different kind of learner. It took me a while to get into ClickUp, and it wasn't until, shout out to Caleb who works on our team. Caleb built everything out in a way that it clicked for the way that my brain works. So I was like, oh, I see it now. And then I could move things around and do it. But so it will take some time to kind of play around and figure out the system that works best for you, how it looks that works best for you, because there's so many options. So I guess all that to say, I love that you say to start off with writing it out, drawing it out, because I think that's the easiest way for anyone to get started. Low budget, nothing frilly or fancy. Write out what you need to do. And then the automation, building an automation from that, it comes down to thinking through what system is going to work best for you, what tool is going to work best for you to be able to actually automate it.
So to that point, what K-Walk said is 100% true. When I first learned programming, we had to learn COBOL, which was just ridiculously dumb. but anyway, when I first learned programming, my teacher made us learn COBOL, and her thing, Mrs. Lai, I'll never forget her. You have to do flowcharts. So we had the little plastic flowchart templates where you would draw the database symbols and all of the above. But the advantage of doing that is you understood the data flow. And even when you guys come in and start panicking about your audio, the first thing I tell you to do is take your finger and go down your cables and map where, you know what I mean? Because if you try to do it in your head, you're going to immediately look at Ecamm and blame Ecamm. Ecamm doesn't audio process. We don't know how to do anything. So what you do, though, if you're following your cables, 9 times out of 10, your number one problem in audio is this thing right here, the little wee cable. So sometimes just swapping that changes the problem, right? You know, I've been plugging in my camera, plugging my camera, it's not plugging in. What do? Take your finger, go like that. Oh, yeah, let me start with the cable. It is almost always the cable. But because the cable's $8 and the camera's $3,000 and the computer's $2,000 and the software is $400, it can't be the $3 cable, $8 cable. No, it's not possible. It must be the expensive thing because we're Americans and we're victims. So I'm like, so I really appreciate what K-Walk said, because if you draw this out, or like Evie said, you write it down and you go down your flow, you will find out where you can, go gangster with it. Okay, Evie, so I have a question for you real quick. Go ahead. For someone who is like, say, not even going to go down the ClickUp train, they just want to do like their first automation, right? It used to be we would tell people to use IFT, and then it became Zapier, which my brain still wants to call Zapier because I think of the sword.
Yeah.
I think of the rapier.
Same.
Honga.
I know, yeah.
Right? Honga.
Yeah,
but just the crazy situation of that is even that's been changing. A lot of people are talking about Make and some of these other tools that are out there. So what would be one thing that almost everybody probably should automate, and like how simple is that?
Simplest automation is get yourself a scheduling calendar. I cannot believe how many
Yes.
still don't have a scheduling calendar.
Get yourself a Calendly or something similar. There's like a bajillion of them out there.
Yeah.
So true.
And it's like, so how we run automation. So forget about whichever process, doesn't even matter. How we run automations, the first automation is a calendar, period. If you are still spending 5 emails, 10 emails forward and back to get the right time for an appointment, really, how much time are we wasting? Get yourself a calendar. Secondary is your task automation. We are not even going crazy into Zapier or Make or whatever task automation, because every single time you have to think about, am I doing this? Am I not doing this? You wasted just how many seconds, and those add up. That little stuff adds up so fast, especially because your brain needs to be switching from planning to doing to planning to doing. We're not even going as crazy as creative and then analogical and all the things. Even just planning and doing, switching your brain is going to cost you time. When I say task automation, it doesn't even have to be a project management tool. It can be as simple as having a recurring task on your Google Calendar that blocks out half an hour in the morning to clean out your emails. It can be that simple. Next step is then more of the serious project management automation, from actually get yourself a project management tool. Am I going to preach ClickUp? Yes, because Trello, you're going to hit a glass ceiling at some point because you can't scale at some level anymore in Trello just because of how it's built. And do I love ClickUp? Yes, because of the reason that Katie mentioned earlier. I can adjust how ClickUp looks and works for you. No matter if you are creative and you like the Kanban style, if we need more of a time, if I build custom views, I'm not even going to go down the road of explaining all the different ways of how I can show data to you in ClickUp. That versatility, perfect. Even if you're just one right now, we always look at scaling, right? So with that, I can make this look however your team needs it for whatever use case scenario. Now, again, I always focus on scaling. I don't want to have to switch tool within the next 6 months or a year. With that, coming more into that project management, now you've done some things. You already had some recurring tasks on your Google Calendar. You've already played around with that. You know things that are regularly happening. Now, take your day-to-day, plug them in to a tool like ClickUp and set them as recurring. When do you have to pay your taxes? Your morning routine, your regular scheduled podcasts, all of those recurring stuff, get them into a project management tool, set your time estimates and set them on recurring. Now, done. They're going to show up on the day you need to take care of them, and they're going to block out the time because you set a time estimate. And then you get a little bit more fancy. Cool. Yes, we are recording a podcast. Now let's build out those subtasks that need to be in there. Let's build out those task templates and automatically apply that task template whenever I generate the task. Once that is more clean, once you got comfortable in that habit, in that recurring process, then we start getting nerdy. And I am partial to make.com. Now, make.com, formerly Integromat, I don't know who did the branding, who would call it to a make, try to Google about it. It's a pain. But that's just mine. I don't believe in the new branding, but it is what it is. Make.com is Zapier cheaper on steroids, which means the initial learning curve is a little bit more painful. It is not. I might get a little bit in trouble with Doc on this one. Where Zapier is Mac, meaning it's nice in a box, which makes using it way simpler. Think of make.com as your Windows or your Hackintosh. It is wide open, but that means you also have to learn more because you are not boxed in. I can pull data with Make. I can build such intricate workflows and automations within Make that are way more difficult to build in Zapier. However, if you are starting out playing around with Zapier, pay the $20 before you pay the $9 on make.com and have that learning curve. Again, we still use Zapier for some tools because they do not integrate with Make. But again, that happens when you understand your process. That's when you can get nerdy of, cool, I'm too lazy to generate my episode folders in Google Drive. When my task gets here, go do that, rename the folder based on the task and the episode number and all the fanciness. But you don't want to do that till you understand your process.
Yeah.
And you're not going to understand.
And it also needs to be repeatable. So I know that many of us out there are really guilty of being like, oh, I do this thing and I do it most of the time this way, but then sometimes I also do it this way, or I change the time. Or so a lot of what's awesome about really like setting an intention to get better at project management is that it forces you to do the same things on a regular schedule that are repeatable, that then become very set it and forget it, that then become automationable. that then become easy to automate, right? Because you've built it out, you understand what the process is, what the system is, you've gotten into a point where it's repeatable and it's something that you could just automate and forget about because you've done the same thing every single time. So stop doing the most. I'm speaking to myself as much as to everyone else, but stop doing the most. Stop changing your mind. So yeah, but figure out what it is, draw a line in the sand on what your process, what your flow, what your system is, and get it down somewhere in paper or whatever it is that you can see it. And then figure out okay, I'm committing to this to the point that I'm going to set an automation, a process around this. I'm going to commit to a schedule. I'm going to set reminders it's going to be, this is my system. And then, let it run for probably at least a few weeks, if not a few months before you think about making changes to it or messing around with it. Cause it's like anything else. It's one of those things where you get into it and you're like, oh ClickUp has all these features, and you can get really distracted, right? Yeah, you got to put the blinders on. Start with, like Evie said, please. I cannot convince you of this enough. Please, please, please start with something as simple as calendars. So something as simple as whether it's booking guests or you're just setting it for yourself for if it's just your show and you're doing it by yourself, start setting recurring tasks and reminders through your calendar and through, whatever system works best for you so that you can get into that habit. Because you'll see from there what else you can, and you will. There'll be tons of other things you can add on, but that was game changing for me. It saved a ton of so much time that I thought I was fast at, and I was just wasting time doing, thinking about what I need to say in the email. That it's the same email out to everyone, but I'm making it say different things for ridiculous reasons.
Building systems is just like, again, driving a car or brushing your teeth. In the beginning, it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be like, oh my God, really? I said I'm going to do this. So now I'm trying to figure out how to brush my teeth and do the thing. And then once you do it often enough, it all happens on autopilot. And that's exactly what happens with repeatable systems, where you don't think about it anymore and you can stack on top of it. Now, repeatable systems are the same idea as habits, the same idea as stackable habits. You start with one thing. Cool. Now I figured out how to brush my teeth. Now I can add listening to an audiobook to it. Or I follow it right back up with another habit that I want to bring in. And you can start stacking those things. And you are not going to burn yourself out. You're not going to overwhelm yourself, because it has become a repeatable system. It has become a habit. It is going to take you less brain power and less time to do the things now, because you got in the habit of it and potentially even took some manual labor off of you. And you can even take my Google Drive automation. We have the generation in Google Drive where we got the folders and everything. So now I don't have to deal with that anymore. We have that the other way around too. I have somebody that generates my thumbnail, my story image, and my feed image. I want this SEO based because we use these images in blogs too, which means the graphics need to be SEO optimized based on the title of the show. Guess what? I have a form where they're submitted, and I have an automation running that renames them based on the episode name, attaches them to ClickUp so the team has readily access to it, and backs them up in the associated Google Drive folder of that episode. Now, again, did we start there? No. My team had spent all the manual time initially on making sure, is it named right? Is it where it's supposed to be? And then I still had to prove it and check that the naming convention is right so we didn't screw up our SEO on the blog. By the time we had tested this a couple of times, yes, this is what we needed, I jumped into make.com and I built the automation. And ever since, I'm like, I don't have to check it anymore. I don't even have to prove it, because I know Make will tell me if something went wrong, because we might have had a weird punctuation or whatever in the title. Make tells me, hey, you broke it. I'm like, cool, what happened? Awesome, there is the issue, fixed it, rerun it, done. The hours this has saved me to get to this point, invaluable.
And I want to do just run back and remind people, listen, I know that tools like ClickUp and Trello and Notion and all these guys, they all have Kanban boards that you can build, right? But you can literally do that with Doodit. You can really literally do it with Post-it notes. Get yourself a stack of multicolored Post-it notes and then draw and just go right to your wall. And you can literally just sort of stack them, because that's what that visual effect is for. And it's to remind you that you can't get to one underneath until the one above is done, and it's kind of a flow. And video like that had question, is Kanban Japanese? Yes, it was part of the Toyota system that was built in just in time. Kan is empty time, is empty, like in kampai means empty cup, Kanban empty times, and then ban means time or after or whatever. And the entire planet says Kanban, Evie, and it hurts my feelings because you're from Germany and you don't you guys hate when we say autobahn, because it's not the autobahn, it's the autobahn.
And the interwebs are on my side.
It's the Autobahn, right? So
I love it.
Kanban,
I have
just like Autobahn. Okay, there you go.
Just like Audubon, Audubon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, and I know we've been super preachy in the last couple of episodes, but from a good spot. But I will say it
She said,
as someone that has spent the last, Doc's been really preachy. No, I've been preachy too. But for the last few years, it took me way longer than it should have to realize. And I come from a writing background, so this is ridiculous that it took me this long. But it took me longer than it should have of spending time in tools, whatever tool it is, trying to think through what my system is when I'm in a tool. And that is not the way to do it. You have to write it out, draw it out, think it out, talk it out, whatever, out away from your computer, put down the computer and the phone and the iPad and the technology, step away and think through what you're actually trying to accomplish, because that in many cases is what's blocking people from getting it done, is that they don't actually know what the big picture is, what the system is, what the process is. And then if you don't know that and you haven't spent the time thinking it through, all of these tools and systems feel really impossible. Like they all feel like, like they do a ton of stuff, and that they're all meant to be customizable. So,
and that's exactly, I love that you brought that up. That's exactly, where when people come to me, it's like, ClickUp is not working for me. And I'm like,
yeah,
sorry to tell you, but you don't know your process, because
you're not working for ClickUp. Yeah,
because exactly. I'm like, ClickUp is so customizable. It will tell you within 5 minutes if you know your process or not. And we start everything on a whiteboard. I'm a whiteboard person. We start everything on a whiteboard, huge, big ass, and literally just map it out. As Doc mentioned earlier, process mapping.
Yep.
We start whiteboard process mapping. We implement it, we run it. Once we figured out the optimized process, we actually go back to Miro and digitally process map our stuff, because again, we bring internal automations and then external automations and all the nerdiness. I don't remember in a month which automation ran where. Is it in Make? Is it in Zapier? Is it internally in ClickUp? Is it on a folder level? Is it on a space level? I don't remember. So with that, we have this whole piece of building all the things where in the end, but again, guys, this is final. This is the end goal. We have task template within ClickUp. We have internal automations. We have potentially external automations. We have our workflow mapping, and we have our standard operating procedures, where it's this combination of resources for us to be able to scale with people that have never done it. They need the resources to completely figure out how to run this whole thing. And then team members that already have done it, or even just for me, where I just need that checklist. And by the end of optimizing a workflow, we have all of those resources. Mm-hmm. But again, this end goal, that is not a done in a day. You have to have gone through the process and really know what's happening there. And what's your end goal? What do you want to make happen?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I know we're sensitive to time today, but I did see a question come up from Dan, who's hanging out in the live studio audience here with us. Dan was asking a little bit of specifics on ClickUp. I don't know, Luis, if we still have you in the back, but if you could go to Evie's screen share if you still have it, I would just love to be able to show people who are hanging out on YouTube what ClickUp looks like. But it is, there we go. So it is Dan's question, and I can't seem to scroll through to find it, but he was comparing, or there you go. Is ClickUp like Asana, or is it a different category? So it is similar to Asana, right, Evie?
Correct. It's similar to Asana. I don't know if Asana still does the whole you have to have 5 members thing. And I haven't been in a while in Asana, to be honest.
Yeah, I haven't either.
My initial issue why I left Asana and found ClickUp. Asana is actually the reason how I found ClickUp, because I got so mad that I needed a specific feature and they forced me to buy 5 seats to get a simple feature as an automation.
Got it.
From what I have seen about 6 months ago in Asana, we had an issue of big picture. meaning I was still siloed in specific projects. You have the site view on Asana, and I didn't have something like an everything view where I can customize based on my use case. From the tools, non-specific, correct. ClickUp is more of the user interface like Monday, but it's the same category. Monday, Asana, ClickUp, same kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of them out there. What I will say I really liked about ClickUp, and I said earlier, it took me way longer than it should have to get in here. I needed help from Caleb and from other team members to kind of lay it out for me in a way that worked for my brain. But what I like about ClickUp and continue to like about it is that, as Evie said, you can make it look just about any way you wanted. So once I was able, again, to explain how I needed to see the information for it to be helpful for me to work through my process, then it was like, oh, okay, yeah, you need to see it this way. And then it was really easy to do it in ClickUp. And what was cool about it, and what continues to be cool about it, is that it's also easy to switch it back if Paul's brain doesn't work that way, or if Doc's brain doesn't work. So like each person can kind of have their own view of the same data. So if Paul needs to see a calendar view, and Doc needs to see a list view, and I need to see like, a whiteboarding view, like all of these different things are possible in a tool. So again, like whether it's ClickUp or any other tool that you're looking at to help with project management, it really knowing what those features are, what the customizations are that you need to have or want to have for your own system to work is really important, because it, like Evie said, it makes a big difference. Like if you have to pay a ton of money to get the one thing that makes sense to you, then that's not worth it on the long run. Like if something else has it.
And what Katie is talking about is you can even take that to another level. So when I work with clients or in my community, the honest accomplice, you also ask about, there is a whole bunch of videos too that dives deeper into this process. I know we are running out of time, so I want to just give you a really quick idea, visual, what I guide my clients through, or Katie. It's, you don't just need information differently displayed in like calendar or Kanban or list view. It is also specific use cases. So
yeah, exactly.
In the folder, if I go in here, I have a list view literally with all of my different types of quote tasks that I have in here. I have my wish list. I have my general submissions. I have the podcast going on. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the folder. For the podcast, I barely ever in the folder. I then have my list of submissions. These are submissions that came in through my form. And as you can see, some of them have been emailed to schedule their recording. Now, going in here, Doc mentioned that Podmatch. We are actually on Podmatch. Let me refresh this really quick. I have a field that identifies people that came from Podmatch because I want to follow up with them, because Podmatch pays me to have Podmatch guests on the podcast. Yep. So now with that field that they came from Podmatch, I know that I have to follow up on Podmatch to get my affiliate payment. Then once they scheduled, they come over into the scheduled view where I have all of my upcoming shows. Then in here too is there, it shows my guest possibilities. Everybody that said, yes, I would have you on here. I don't need to know what's happening on my podcast. I just need to know that they can have me as a guest. And that's also where it's like my guest referrals. Right now, we have all of them moved over, meaning when they fill out a field that says, hey, I have somebody that could be a guest, it's in here. So based on specific use case scenarios, I can build out these views to show the information for the use case I'm working on. Am I reaching out? Yeah, then I'm going into EV guest possibility. And guess what? I automated this thing. By the time I hit a button in here and I say, hey, I want to be guest, there's actually a custom field for that. And I say, hey, I want to be guest. They get emailed automatically. I don't have to touch it. So it's this based on use case And that's where I come in and ask Katie, I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? What are you doing right now? Are you scheduling a podcast or are you reaching out to come on a podcast? Cool. We are scheduling a podcast. Awesome. What is the data you need to see to get this done? And based on that, I built this thing out however I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And that's where the magic happens.
Oh my gosh. Well, if this episode was helpful, sorry, Doc, one sec. If this episode was helpful, we will drop in both later today into this description as well as into when we release this podcast episode. Evie did an entire series on this for Ecamm. What was it, a year or two ago? So you can still, and those videos are still highly relevant and helpful. Yeah. So we'll drop that all in if you want to dive deeper specifically into ClickUp. Also buy her book, but yeah, I'd be able to jump in and learn more. But I mean, I think even just the bigger picture stuff is really helpful as a reminder for people. Sorry, Doc, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, one of the things that comes up is like, oh, well, how much is this going to cost? I have heard from many people, and I remember this myself, that the free plan of ClickUp is extremely powerful. But when you decide to change, it's like $7 for basic. Or,
it's really not expensive. Yeah,
$12 for like, the grown folks plan. And even at $12 a month, you like never really run out of that. Like, so it's kind of crazy because it's probably too cheap.
To give you guys a really quick idea on the pricing, and I have a video on that too. If you find my pricing video on YouTube, you figure out how to get my custom coupon code and saving money too, by the way. Mm-hmm. The free plan is perfect to play around. The downside on getting serious about your podcast and running it through ClickUp is the free account has a limitation on custom fields, and custom fields is where the magic happens. Mm-hmm. But again, it's like if you look at the monthly price, because yearly is always the cheaper one. Even if you look at the monthly price, the unlimited is $10. Find my pricing video on YouTube and you'll get a coupon where this is 20% off.
Yeah. So it's real doable.
It's the time you are saving yourself building this out, which might also have the template available. Not that just on a side note.
Thanks, Paul.
With that, it's like you guys have all the resources. You have Ecamm's seminar, webinar, summit, all the same to me, coming up where I know there will be some magic for that. You have the Ecamm series that we did with Fast Forward. Mm-hmm. You have my YouTube channel. You have Ecamm's resources on what do you actually need to do to get started with a podcast. It's all there. You have the resources available to you. The question is, how tired are you of doing all of this manually and wasting all the time?
Hit that applause button. That's incredible. Thank you so much, Evie, for hanging out. I'm always like, it's great. Kind of even though I have a lot of this set up, it's always great. Like being face to face with you, because it reminds me of all the things I'm like, all right, I was going to do that. Like more checkboxes, more automations to get things just in a better spot. So I appreciate it.
Just pay attention when you're like, oh my God, do I have to do this again? Let's automate it.
Exactly. Where I'm like, where did that email go? Why did I not send that? I'm like, why did I not automate that to just go out? Yeah, exactly.
See, now you guys understand why Evie identifies with Wonder Woman. She's badass.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. I love that shirt. All right, Doc, take it away.
All right, guys, if you want to find out more information, you can always go over to flow.ecamm.com. That is flow.ecamm.com. You can do things like leave a review. You can ask us a question by leaving us a voicemail. You can type it in. You can do all the above. And you can subscribe wherever your podcast getting is got. And they changed the word subscribe to follow. But anyway, you know what I mean. So you go over to flow.ecamm.com. And also, we'd like to thank our lovely sponsor for today, Captivate. Captivate is where we host this and other shows. Like, it is my favorite hosting platform. It does all the cool stuff stuff, but mostly they work on a growth mindset so they can help you grow your podcast, and find more followers. See what happens when you try to switch subscribers to followers? That's the word. Anyway, so go and grow your podcast. It's my new Filipino version at captivate.fm. And there you go. That's it. It's another flow in the box. All right, guys, you know what it is. And nephew Aiden, here you go. You ready? Tio's going to do it. Flow Riders, out.